This is where freedom rings.
If you believe in America, if you believe in the Constitution empowers us. It's a new day. America's back. America's back, and America's going to get strong again. We're going to defend America, and we're going to defend our interests.
Liberty's voice, Levin TV.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here, Levin TV. Thanks for joining us. Well, Barack Obama's on the loose. First he was in Europe, trashing America. Then he was in Vietnam, trashing America. Then he was at Hiroshima, trashing America. Now he's trashing America right here in America. He was at the Concord Community High School. Or is that community college? Or does it matter? In Indiana, Elkhart, Indiana, he was giving a speech. It was a profound Obama speech. He got away from his notes. He got away from all the stuff that everybody writes for him, which is bad enough. And he had this to say. Go.
I hope you don't mind me being blunt about this, but I've been listening to this stuff for a while now. And I'm concerned when I watch the direction of our politics. I mean, we have been hearing this story for decades. Tales about welfare queens, talking about takers, talking about the 47%. It's the story that is broadcast every day on some cable news stations, on right-wing radio. It's pumped into...
Right-wing radio. You know, this is very interesting to me. I know all the radio hosts are hoping that he listens to them. I don't care if this man listens to me or not. He's irrelevant to me in that sense. But we were noting a couple months ago, my radio producer and I, how he keeps using phrases that I use, like the civil society and the social contract, and all of a sudden he's using them like 10 or 12 times in a speech, like he just heard them say on a radio show, maybe mine. And we have believed for a long time that he either listens or he gets them transcribed, not just mine, but other radio shows too. I don't know anybody talking about a welfare queen, but I'm sure there are welfare queens out there. I don't know anybody talking about the losers out there, although I talk about them from time to time. But there are losers out there who play the system. Some of them are citizens, some of them are immigrants, some of them are illegal aliens. We all know this. There's massive fraud in the so-called welfare state. Massive. We've had report after report after report, not by right-wing think tanks, but by the General Accountability Office and other auditing departments of the federal government. Go ahead.
Cars and bars and VFW halls all across America and right here in Elkhart. And if you're hearing that story all the time, you start believing it. It's no wonder people think big government is the problem. No wonder public support for unions is so low.
Right. So you see, the reason people are having problems with big government is because of talk radio, people like me. Not because big government is destroying their businesses and destroying their jobs. Not because big government is pushing them around, telling them what kind of automobile they have to have. Not because big government is closing down small businesses. Not because big government steps in the way if somebody wants to put a fence on their backyard and there happens to be a puddle. No. Not because of the massive taxes that they have to pay or the ubiquitousness of the EPA and the Agriculture Department and the Interior Department and the Energy Department, because farmers can't grow. People raising livestock aren't allowed to raise livestock, and on and on and on. No, it's because of radio. Right? Wrong. People are living the miserable experience that is an overly powerful centralized government that puts out 3,000 to 6,000 regulations every year, burdensome, smothering regulations. Under this man so far, almost 21,000 regulations. A regulation is a law. It has the power of a law. They have fines, they have penalties. Some of them are strict liability. Some of them have prison sentences. And his government is doing it. Congress isn't even passing these laws. His government is doing it. So the people are fed up. Big government, purposely keeping the borders open. We have more people coming in here illegally than ever before in our history. Big government is doing these things to the people. You can see it at your local school system. People in the school system who don't speak English, they just show up. Property taxes have to go up. You have to find teachers who speak 12 different languages. Well, it's not so easy, is it? You can see the cost of law enforcement going up. because gangs like MS-13 and other groups coming into this country. Not everybody wants to pick lettuce, do they, John McCain? No. Not everybody's a good boy or girl, are they, ladies and gentlemen? No. And then we have 40 to 50% of these people who come in through the visa program in the front door, not through the back door, and they overstay, and they take jobs from Americans. They certainly do. That's why the U.S. Chamber of Crony Capitalism keeps going on and on about open borders and supports them. Now big labor, too, because big labor figures, we have an idea. We'll make them union members, and then we'll take their dues. And then we'll pour more money into politicians like this. It's not because of talk radio. It's not a fiction. It's not a myth. It's a reality. Go.
No wonder that people think that the deficit's gone up under my presidency when it's actually gone.
Whoa. Well, may I say, what a liar. He says the deficit hasn't gone up, it's gone down. Two things. The debt, the accumulation of all these deficits over the years has massively increased under this man. It was about $10 trillion, the fiscal operating debt when he came into office. It's over $19 trillion. It'll be double what it was when he comes into office. I'm not even talking about unfunded liabilities. He hasn't done a thing to address Social Security or Medicare. And he's massively expanded Medicaid under Obamacare. So that'll collapse in a faster period of time. But what else? His deficits, he says, have gone down. Well, it depends what the benchmark is. Do you know early on in his administration, through that phony program he put in, the stimulus program, most of which went to his favorite left-wing grassroots organizations and community organizers and so forth, do you know that at 1 year we had over a $1.4 trillion deficit just in 1 year? So he uses that, you see, as the standard, as the common denominator. And then he says, look, it's only $500 billion now. It's only $700 billion now, whatever the figure is. So it's actually gone down, ladies and gentlemen. It's only gone down because it was massively high. But when you look at it historically, when you look at the horizon of the numbers from past administrations, even if you take into consideration the changing value of money through what has been very little inflation, he's the king. He is the gold star winner. He wins. He's the Olympics chief. That's right. Nobody has run up deficits and debt like Barack Obama. Nobody has expanded the federal government, but for the military, like Barack Obama, no matter what he says. No, he wasn't done. He wasn't done. He kept stammering and stammering and stuttering and stuttering. And I'm starting to think, maybe the machine was broken. You know, the machine with all the words on it and so forth. And maybe the teleprompter was broken. Maybe the teleprompter kept going. Well, you'll see what I mean. Go.
The agenda I'm putting forward will point us in the right direction. And the one thing I can promise you is if we turn against each other based on divisions of race...
Whoa, hold on. If we turn against each other, you've already turned us against each other. Whether it's Ferguson or Baltimore, you've been race-baiting your entire life, and you've been race-baiting your entire presidency. And not only that, you've turned people against each other based on their age, based on their genitalia, based on what they do with their genitalia, based on what genitalia they want. You've turned people against each other based on their income levels. You are the king of division and balkanization. You've turned people against each other based on their race and ethnicity with open borders and so forth and so on. You have picked more scabs than there ever have been scabs before. That's what he's done. Go ahead.
Or religion. If we fall for...
Hold on now. That was bizarre, wasn't it? To hear it's one thing. To see it is another thing. But he's not done. Go ahead.
You know, a bunch of okey-doke.
Stop. Bunch of okey-doke. Wow. Am I guilty of a bunch of okey-doke? What if I don't even know what okey-doke is? Is that a new cultural thing? Or maybe I missed something. Go ahead.
Just because it sounds funny or...
No, that sounds funny. All right, that's enough. So, he's stuttering, stammering, doing his thing. It's not even the stuttering or stammering that's problematic. It's what he says in complete words and sentences that's problematic. Our president is a serial dissembler. I actually think he's convinced himself that he's been such a wonderful president of the United States. I think this is how he lives with himself, despite the fact that he's a one-man wrecking ball both here and overseas. Now, ladies and gentlemen, he's not the only one. I mean, this is a sitting president. We have people running for president. It's getting kind of embarrassing around here, isn't it? Great nation. Apparently, we can't do much better than this. There's Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson, who was the governor of New Mexico. Gary Johnson, who ran for president as the nominee of the Libertarian Party some time back. He's their nominee again with his sidekick, Bill Weld. Now, I know who Bill Weld is. I used to sit in meetings with Bill Weld when I was chief of staff to Attorney General Meese in the Reagan administration. Back then, Bill Weld was a liberal Republican, a New England liberal Republican from Massachusetts. And he became governor of Massachusetts, running as a liberal Republican from Massachusetts. Now, he also tried to topple Meese. He and the then Deputy Attorney General went to Ronald Reagan and said, look, if you don't fire Ed Meese, we're resigning. You know what Ronald Reagan said? See you later. And so they resigned. But Weld used that to propel him into notoriety, you might say, in Massachusetts, and to run eventually as governor and to win that slot on, I think, 2 occasions. So that is Gary Johnson's running mate. Now, I watched this Libertarian meeting or nomination event. It was a rather small assembly room, and I talked about this a little bit on radio yesterday. And I'm sitting there with my Julie, watching it on a Saturday night on C-SPAN, and I thought I was watching Saturday Night Live. In fact, it was funnier than Saturday Night Live. You got one guy on the far left of the stage. He's on the far right. We're watching him. He's on the far left. He's a doctor from the Cleveland Clinic, an anesthesiologist. That guy looked like the biggest loon I've ever seen before. He was going on and on. Then you got another guy up there who is a talk show host, very, very bizarre, and you got them debating over whether a 5-year-old should be able to get heroin. Well, I thought to myself, that's a very strong position to take if you're trying to attract voters. Some of them actually said, no, I don't think so. Some of them actually said, it's none of our business. Then they were arguing over whether states can constitutionally require people to have driver's licenses if they're going to drive. Now, first of all, that's not a federal constitutional issue, is it? Unless you're going across state boundaries. But I'm thinking, is this a real political party or is this a clown show? Because I don't think these are the issues that Americans care about. I think Americans care about, like, survival, losing the republic, the Constitution, more basic understandings of liberty, the family unit, faith, you know, stuff like that. So Gary Johnson is leading this grand group, and a lot of people are saying, well, look, if you don't vote for Trump or you don't vote for the putative nominee, Hillary, if she is the nominee, well, you can always vote Libertarian. Really? I think it's a little more complex. It's a little more confusing than that. Anyway, here's Gary Johnson. He's in an interview with the New York Times editorial board. Well, you look. Go ahead.
I bought underwear on Amazon the other day, and I bought them too small. I'm dealing with that right now. I bought underwear on Amazon the other day, and I bought them too small. I'm dealing with that right now. I bought underwear on Amazon.
Okay, we get it. He bought underwear on Amazon. He keeps fidgeting in his seat. He says it's too small. It's too tight. The doofus sitting to his left is Bill Weld, sitting there saying, how the hell did I get involved in this? So let me say, if you do buy underwear and it's too tight, my suggestion is once you try it on and it's too tight, take it off and put on different underwear before you go out in public. Let's say it's too tight and you're still walking out in public and you're in a meeting. Well, stop fidgeting. Now, let's say you're still fidgeting. Say something else. You know, I got a rash. I don't know. Something bit me in the butt. But don't say, I'm so stupid. I go on Amazon. I don't even know what kind of underwear I wear. I ordered the underwear. I put it on this morning. I get in the car. Then I take a bus. Then I take a subway. Then I go up the elevator. Then I meet with you. And then I announce it, that my underwear is too tight. No, I don't think I'll be voting for him.